Art serves a purpose. It always has and always will. It is up to those who consumed art to decide if that purpose has any importance. There are some things that the public generally agrees on. For instance, art made by Leonardo da Vinci, it's pretty important. Art made by Shia LaBeouf, it's funny, but it's not really important. Art made by Justin Bieber. Well, how about Saul Williams' art? Well, before we can judge whether or not it's important, we first need to understand its purpose. So let's talk about that. Saul Williams' music aims to inform its listeners about the ongoing war that they may not be aware of, and he's not the only one. One of my favorite albums, Muses the Resistance, tells the same kind of story. It's heavily influenced by George Orwell's 1984, but much like the novel, there is a lot of parallels to today. It's also a really great album. Seriously, you should listen to it. Do it. Oh, off track. Anyway, Saul Williams' music tells a story about uprising to meet today's threats. These threats are ignorance, war, and complacency. Saul Williams clearly believes that these three pillars are extremely dangerous, so he uses his music to inform the masses about them. Let's talk about them in order, because I'm a civilized human being and I do things in order. Ignorance. We've all experienced it in one shape or another. Maybe you've encountered someone who thinks the earth is flat. Maybe you are that someone who thinks the earth is flat. If that's the case, stop that. You are bringing our society down. And that's exactly how Saul Williams feels about people who demonstrate ignorance. Saul has a song called Down for Some Ignorance, which simply explains how he sees ignorance. And the keyword there is simple, which is simple to explain. Simple, right? Anyway, let's have a quick listen.
Stockholders meet and they're down for some ignorance. Prayer of the meek and they're down for some ignorance.
Well, how about that? Don't care how they treat us. Down for some ignorance. That's deep right there. It's a direct narrative about us. Williams is saying that as a society, we are so ignorant that we don't care how the government dictates our lives. And I think that rings true for most of us. Like me, I just go about my day and do what makes me happy without any regard as to the world I live in. I just do it. I just live in my world. Is that okay? Saul Williams doesn't seem to think so. Moving on to war. When you think about anti-war music, you probably think of some hippies playing guitar and wearing purple tinted glasses. Well, that's where you're wrong, buckaroo. Our good friend Saul Williams also creates anti-war music. Here, take a listen to one of his songs from The Inevitable Rise and Liberation of Niggy Tardust. Now, some of you might be thinking right now,
wait, I know that song. Isn't that Sunday Bloody Sunday, which is literally sung by a hippie playing a guitar wearing purple glasses?
And I would like to say, yes, this is a cover of U2's song. And I would also like to inform you that a cover still speaks volumes about a message. The song speaks of the hypocrisy of religious people who still monger war. People who can still comfortably pray on Sundays without speaking out on the injustices performed around the world. Now, what's interesting is that the original song is about the British massacring Irish on two separate Sundays, but when performed by Williams, it takes on an entire new meaning, and I find that really fascinating, don't you think? Now, on to complacency. Google's dictionary defines complacency as a feeling of smug or uncritical satisfaction with oneself or one's achievements. Saul Williams hates the fact that many people are just okay with the way things are. This is a difference from the ignorance I was talking about before. Ignorance is when you just choose not to learn about things and live your life stupid. Complacency is when one is perfectly aware of the problem, but they just choose not to do anything about it. This is where we're going to talk about Saul's possibly most famous song, List of Demands. In this song, Saul Williams is directly begging the listener to get up and do something. He tells us where he stands and asks us if we want to be somebody, see somebody, or try and free somebody. Well, we can't just do that when we're sitting in our rooms, can we? Saul Williams uses this song, as well as many other of his songs, as calls to arms. He's anti-war, sure, but the war he's fighting is a war of words, and he needs as many soldiers on his side as possible. So, now that we know his purpose, can we decide if Saul Williams' art is important? I think I'll leave that up to you guys to figure out. As for me, I'm gonna go listen to some Muse now.
Ecstasy suffering, echinacea buffering. We aim to remember what we choose to forget. God's just a baby, and their diaper is wet.